1970s Manchester was gloomy, dull, and full of employment. There was nothing for young people, and they felt disenfranchised, until, on the 4th of June 1976, the Sex Pistols played the Free Trade Hall. A lot of the people that attended this gig became influential in the Manchester music scene, such as Tony Wilson, Peter Hook, and Rob Gretton. Tony Wilson said that the Sex Pistols came from Bromley and took root in Manchester, a dirty northern industrial town with boredom and unemployment. Peter Hook said that seeing the Sex Pistols was like being in a darkened room for 21 years and someone shows you a way out. He went out and bought a bass guitar the day after the Sex Pistols played in Manchester. Also at this time, a band called the Buzzcocks formed from Manchester. This was the start of Manchester's infamous bands coming from Manchester. Also at this time, Joy Division formed with Peter Hook and Ian Curtis, and they entered a stiff Chiswick challenge, which was a challenge between two record companies, and the winner got a record deal. Also, Rob Gretton and Tony Wilson began Factory Records with bands like A Certain Ratio and Duritty Column. These bands were very art school-esque and upper class. Joy Division did not win the stiff Chiswick challenge, however, Rob Gretton and Tony Wilson were at that night, and Rob Gretton then became Joy Division's manager. Joy Division was signed to Factory Records, and Tony Wilson signed the contract in blood, stated that they earned none of it and there was a 50-50 split. Also, at this time, Factory Records were putting on their own nights in a nightclub called The Sanctuary. Peter Saville, a graphic designer, started designing the posters for these nights, and he also started the famous FAC serial numbers on Factory Records. There was an EP recorded to promote the Factory Night, which was hand-packaged in a house. Nobody really knew how to do anything, and this gave it a very do-it-yourself punk ethos, going back to when the Sex Pistols played in Manchester. Martin Hannett became Factory's in-house producer, even though he had little experience and was very unorthodox. Joy Division recorded Unknown Pleasures, which was FAC 10. The design became iconic and is still recognisable today. Ian Curtis died on the 2nd of May 1980. He hung himself, although his death throughout the 1980s gave birth to the Manchester scene with bands like the Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays.